Hey YouTube, welcome back to Along for the Ride, and it's the weekend. Special welcome to those new subscribers who pushed us over the 200 mark in like 2 days. Happened like overnight. I was so excited about that. To be honest with you, I don't turn 49 till March, so that was a great present to have early. Anyways, like I said, it's the weekend and we are excited because we are pumped for this EV weekend. We're headed to a friend's place here who has an inside track on some EVs. We're actually going to switch vehicles for the weekend. So for the weekend, I'm going to spend the weekend driving an electric vehicle. First one ever, first experience, never done it before, and we'll see how it goes. So stay tuned and come along for the ride because it should be an interesting one.
Today is an exciting day because my friend Greg is picking me up in his friend Eric's Tesla. Check it out.
So you're probably wondering how that weekend went. And in one word, I'm going to say it was kind of interesting. I promise I won't say weekend much more because there was a lot of it in that first clip. So I picked up the Model Y from a friend of mine Friday night. I was going to drive it for the 3 days and just do some daily driving activities and just see how it fared. I mean, I even took the time to fill it with tools and just see how many tools I could get in the back of the vehicle, and there was quite a lot of space in that Model Y. But this isn't a Model Y versus F-150 comparison, nor a Tesla versus Ford comparison. It's just simply a look at the electric vehicle and see what it's all about. First experience, kind of share that experience with you. There were certainly some things that I was pleasantly surprised about and some things I wasn't so much. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. First off, the range of an EV is certainly not all it's listed to be, especially in the middle of January in Ontario where we were having temperatures of -16 during the day. We certainly didn't get the range that it was showing on the screen. The drive there and back is 38 kilometers, and we used 66 kilometers of range. Well, we made it to our destination, 30 kilometers from home, and we used 50 kilometers of range. While I had the vehicle, I was only charging it with a 110 charging cable because I don't have a level 2 charger in my home. So not a realistic situation. I mean, if you bought a vehicle like this, you would certainly be putting a charger in so that you could charge it effectively. So we were running probably on the low end of our range anyways because of the charging ability. For comparison though, in 13 hours with a 110 charger, we were getting 7 kilometers an hour and topped up about 91 kilometers. Whereas when we drove to the supercharger and plugged it in for 13 minutes, we got 95 plus kilometers on a charge. So certainly a big difference there, and certainly not a realistic situation because you wouldn't do either all the time. I'd planned to do a trip to Goderich and visit the in-laws. It's a 144 kilometer drive, but I was a little concerned that I wouldn't make it there. There's no chargers along the way unless you pull off and go into Exeter. So that was a little bit out of the range. And I figured based on what I was getting with my little drives, I figured at 144 kilometers, I'd probably be using 200, 250 kilometers of range. Definitely not something that was doable. And I probably should have been more committed to my YouTube viewers and my YouTube fans and did the drive anyways, but I didn't quite have the time and wasn't looking forward to getting stranded in the middle of winter. I have to be honest, and with these cold weather temperatures and the rain dropping off as quickly as it was, I was a little concerned about even charging my phone. Everything that you plug into an EV vehicle is pulling energy from those batteries, and those batteries are what's getting you from A to B. I was just thinking about it and wondering whether or not that was a good idea or not, and I don't even think about it in my truck. In my truck, we're charging laptops, iPads, battery chargers, and not even worrying about it, and that's with a full bed of gear and 2 Sea-Doos on a trailer behind it. On the technology side of things, I have to say that I really enjoyed the simplified interior. You know, I'm a button guy, and I enjoy the buttons, like the buttons, and certain things should be powered by buttons, but that simplified interior really made the drive almost less distracting. I thought interacting with the screen would cause some difficulty having to go back and forth, especially because there's nothing in front of the steering wheel, so you're always looking over to the side. But it was really pretty easy. Moving the vents as well wasn't a big deal. A simple tap of the screen, menu comes up, you can move it around with your finger, and you're good to go. My one complaint about the screen though is in Canadian winters we're often wearing gloves, and the screen doesn't interact really well with gloves. So every time you're trying to do something, you're pulling a glove off or you're not wearing gloves inside the car. Which again, Tesla has some advantages of because that cabin always seemed to be warm. I didn't realize it till after the fact, but when I was getting in the vehicle in the morning in my garage, even though my garage is a little bit warmer, the cabin was like almost 20 degrees. It was very, very comfortable. So you have to interact with the screen without a glove. So buttons certainly work better with gloves, and because we live in Canada and things get cold, we often have gloves on. I gotta say though, after driving the Tesla for 3 days, and then picking up the truck and getting back into the truck, the amount of information, the amount of buttons, and the amount of lights in the truck that was coming at me was overwhelming. And there's a lot going on here. I take back the whole button conversation to the point where I almost wanted to get out and get back in the Tesla. This is a very busy dash right now. It certainly was more than I think is necessary. When you think about it, my truck, I can control the radio from the 12-inch screen, from the controls below, and from my steering wheel. Is that necessary? I did connect my phone via Bluetooth to the vehicle. Let's just see how the voice command works for texting. Text Jamie Rodrigue. It says text messaging is supported on iOS 13, and I'm sure I have iOS 13. And even at that, I couldn't receive or send text messages, and I couldn't really interact with my music. I don't know if that was because I didn't have the full app on my phone, because again, it's not my vehicle, but you would think even with Bluetooth, I'd be able to interact with that kind of stuff. So really missed my Apple CarPlay, and don't think I will be buying a vehicle that doesn't have it. That's for sure. Something else that hit me as the range was disappearing so quickly and I was spending the weekend in the vehicle was the fact that Tesla's got a lot of tech going on, and there's a lot of things happening when you're driving the vehicle as well as when the vehicle's parked. It's got a ton of sensors giving you a ton of information that you could easily see through the windows that I don't think really needs to be on the screen. And again, all that technology is taking battery power from the batteries it needs you to get from A to B. This stuff can be turned off, but why would I be paying for it if I'm always going to put it on the off position and not use it? All this could be chalked up to first-time jitters, never having an EV, being concerned about getting stranded somewhere because of the range. I mean, most of the time when I left the house, I had over 300 kilometers. These were just thoughts that were going through my head as that range was disappearing a lot quicker than the kilometers were going up. And in my truck, where I leave my tank when I park it in the garage is where the tank is when I get it in the morning and take off. Nothing disappears just from sitting there. In my opinion, the most impressive feature of an EV are the electric motors. The power in that Model Y puts anything aside from my 300 horsepower Sea-Doo to shame. So what do you say we step on the gas here when we get on these?
Yeah, absolutely. Here, let me hold on to that.
Okay, here we go. And it doesn't matter if you're starting from 0 kilometers or you're already at 90 kilometers. When you step on that gas pedal, there is instant power.
I don't know, the G-force or whatever it is. It's...
So we're going 90 right now, and if I step on it now, it'll do the same thing. Another impressive feature with the electric motors is the one pedal driving. In the 3 days I was driving the Model Y, I did not touch the brake pedals once. Not once. You really don't have to hit the brake. It's you just kind of take your foot off the pedal and it slows down and it'll come to a complete stop. The regenerative braking is amazing. It was easy to get used to and flawless in terms of how it worked. The fact that you're not hitting the brakes means you have a lot less wear and tear on your pads and your rotors, which means a lot less trips to the mechanic and a lot less maintenance to pay for, which is the one big advantage to the whole EV system, right? Is the number of parts in the vehicle itself is way less. And the fact that you're not even using those parts makes it even better. Now, despite not having an engine, this was not a quiet ride. Okay, I gotta say, this truck is way quieter than that Model Y. Nor was it smooth. It's been a while since I've driven a small car, so I don't know if it's the wheelbase that was causing the noise, the fact that you're closer to the ground, or even in the Tesla, the frameless windows that were allowing for a lot of wind noise to come in. But I expected to notice the fact that there wasn't an engine and notice that it was quieter because I couldn't hear the engine, but there was enough other noise in this vehicle to cover that fact up. I know that comparing an EV SUV to my F-150 is certainly not a fair comparison. They're not even in the same vehicle category, but I have to say that after driving one and then driving my truck, I feel like I'm getting a lot more for my money with my F-150 than the Tesla Model Y. The Tesla Model Y's price tag, I think, makes us think it's a luxury vehicle, and when you get in it feels that way. I mean, you've got the vegan leather seats, you've got this digital screen, so it feels kind of like a luxury vehicle. But when you start driving it, it certainly isn't a luxury vehicle. It feels more like an average car vehicle with like $40,000 of options and batteries in it. Now, there's no need to convince me that EVs are the way of the future and EV is the way I want to go. As much as I may have been disappointed in some of the Tesla stuff, this hasn't turned me off the EV world at all. It's just made me stop and think a little bit more about what my wants and needs are for one, and just how quickly I'll look to get into one. For me, I think the confidence comes from that hands-on experience, like this past weekend with the Tesla. until these trucks start getting on the lot and you're able to drive them, I think it's going to be a while before I make a decision. And maybe that's one of the reasons why I'm leaning towards the F-150, because I own one and I've got that hands-on experience. But I'm really getting curious about the Rivian. I'd really like to get my hands on one of those and drive one of those. So if Rivian, if you're listening, please check in with me and connect with me. I'd love to have one for a weekend and check it out. Chevy just announced their Silverado EV, which looks really impressive. Looks like they've taken a lot, although they're claiming they haven't, from the Avalanche with the styling and the pass-through. Claims more range, so that's a big advantage. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not that is standard on all their levels of trim, or if it's an extended battery click in your configurator to add $20,000 to the vehicle price. I think until I can get my hands on them and test drive them, I think I'm going to stick with my gas vehicle and continue to pay that gas bill, as well as the oil change bill that just got done last week. What about you? Has this video changed about how you're feeling about EVs? Still thinking about one? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks again to all those new subscribers and those that have been here since the beginning for making this channel grow and getting this content out there. It's helping a lot, and it's certainly encouraging and motivating for me to create content. If you've got some content you'd like to see, throw that in the comments below and we'll see what we can do. As always, this is Greg Sinty saying take care, be well, and enjoy the ride. We'll see you next time.